welcome you all to the second session of Skill Up with CES 2023, conducted by the Civil Engineering Society of the University of Moratuwa. Joined with us here today, we have Dr. Jayasinghe. He is the Senior Treasurer of the Civil Engineering Society, providing a great anchor to the society and a great mentor to us all. Now I would like to invite Dr. Pasindu to officially commence the second session of Skill Up with CES 2023. Over to you, sir.
Right. Thank you very much, Chanuda. So I would like to welcome all of you, the students, and especially our resource person today, Dr. Amila Jayasinghe, to be Skill Up with the session, Skill Up with session. So this is the second session that we are organizing. We have organized the first one that is based on higher education opportunities, which was done by our postgraduate students that are studying at world-class universities. And today, Dr. Amila Jayasinghe has joined us to share his experience on his journey and how he has persuaded his PhD and some of his experience which can benefit for all of you. And so Dr. Amila Jayasinghe, he's a postdoctoral research associate at the Department of Engineering at University of Cambridge. So he was a PhD candidate from 2018 to 2023. Before that, he was a graduate research assistant at University of Moratuwa in 2018, and he was supervised by Professor Sintaka Mallikarach and Professor Anuranakkar. Then he finished his bachelor's in 2000. He was like a student in the 2013 intake, and he was ranked first and the recipient of the gold medal in civil engineering in his batch. So he's the best person to speak about how academic career or how to secure PhD scholarships and what are the benefits that you will have when you pursue these higher education opportunities. And he will also discuss about his experience during his undergraduate course as well, how he gained all this the basis for his higher studies from the bachelor's degree that he has followed at the Department of Civil Engineering. So without further introduction, I would like to invite our speaker as well. And I think Chanu will do the introduction. And also I would request all the students who have logged in here to make the best out of this session. So this is organized for you, and CES is taking a lot of effort to organize these sessions. So I hope you will get the best out of this session. Right? And thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. And I hope this session will be a successful one. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I am delighted to introduce our distinguished speaker for the second session of Skill Up with CES. He is a remarkable individual whose journey is nothing short of inspiring, with a series of academic achievements and a relentless pursuit of knowledge. He embodies the spirit of dedication and excellence. His academic journey began at the Department of Civil Engineering, University of Moratuwa, earning a first-class honors in Bachelor's of Science in Civil Engineering, paving the stage for a path marked by academic distinction. Taking his passion for engineering to the next level, he ventured into the world of research as a graduate research assistant at INSEE Cement, University of Moratuwa in 2018. His early dedication to research laid the foundation for a career dedicated to innovation and discovery. But that was just the beginning. Our speaker's relentless pursuit of knowledge led them to the prestigious University of Cambridge in UK. He embarked on a journey as a PhD candidate in the Department of Engineering in 2018 and continued to expand their horizons, pushing the boundaries of their field. Today, he stands as a postdoctoral research associate in the Department of Engineering at the University of Cambridge, UK, a testament to their unwavering commitment to advancing the frontiers of knowledge. I invite you all to join me in welcoming our esteemed speaker, Dr. Amila Jayasinghe, as he shares his remarkable journey and inspire us with his wisdom and inspiring insights. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Chandra. And also thank you very much, Dr. Pasinth, for the introduction as well. So shall I share my screen now? So you can see this, I guess?
Yes, you can see, sir.
Yes, nice. So thank you very much for the invitation as well. And I'm honored to be a speaker for this session, and I hope you will get something out of this session from my side. So I titled this presentation as "What's Next?" because as I believe in the audience we have all students from all the 4 batches in our undergrad program. So I will try to touch about the general career options we have as civil engineering graduates here, and also about this path I selected was about higher studies. I will be speaking more about opportunities for higher studies, and since I am in the UK and that is what I know about, I'll be speaking more about the UK specific scholarships and the university system. And in a common general sense, I will be talking about preparing CVs and preparing research proposals, cover letters, etc., so that all of you can benefit to some extent. So looking back and to give you an idea about my journey, I did my A-levels and DSN at college at 2012, and I was a part of the 2013 intake at the University of Moratuwa, and I graduated on 2018 with BSc Civil Engineering. I got the gold medal, and I remember this day as one of the crucial days in my life because of some of the scheduling issues. I had to go for my undergrad graduation, and on the same day I had to go to the graduation ball, and on that same night I had to take the flight to come to the UK for the first time in my life. And in 2022 I graduated from University of Cambridge with a PhD, and today my Google Scholar profile looks like this. From my side, the whole point of me trying to say this story is I was also a part of University of Morocco Civil Engineering Department students at one point in my life. And this is a journey, and you will have your own story as well. So in our graduate program, we not only do building and structural engineering, we do construction management, we do environment engineering, we do geotechnical, we do hydraulic and water resources, and we do transportation. And in our degree program, in Moratuwa, we touch down on all those aspects to some extent with the analytical skills. So we tend not to necessarily go on civil engineering jobs as in design of bridges or buildings. It's when we go on a future that we tend to have our own paths. As an example, until your point now, we do O-level exams, we do A-level exams, and altogether when we get into, we do university exams too. And we have this group mentality, and we all go in a flow, we all go in a group to have a common theme, which is very comfortable. But after your graduation, you would have to define your own story, which is very different to each other's. So this is something for you to think about, even though you are now in comfortable position with everyone doing this more or less similar thing. After your graduation, you have to define your own path. So try to think that through from now on. So my point is, whatever your next step is, you have to do what you do right now to your fullest capacity. In civil engineering degree, you have the technical knowledge, you would get the skills and experience acquired throughout the 4 years, and GPA is also important. What I want to tell you for all the four batches is, whatever you have as a result, for anything you want to do, it's not either a yes or no. So in case of the GPA, you don't have a perfect GPA for a position. Depending on whatever the GPA you have, you might get some of the opportunities, you might not get some of the opportunities, but it is not either a yes or no. So GPA is also only one thing, and one module is also only one thing. The entire story will be a combination of different aspects. So whatever you do, try to do your best at this position, so that when you have to decide, you have all the options open. As an example, in your first or second, if you think you are not going to go for higher studies, don't demotivate yourself into not working hard to get a good GPA. Because in case you, by the end of the degree, you decide to go for higher studies, it is good to have a good GPA. Not necessary, but it is always good to have a higher GPA. So throughout your 4-year course, I would encourage you all to try your best to get the maximum points you can. Points is not only I'm not only talking about one particular GPA point, the entire segment of experiences in general. So in our degree program, we have the Washington Accord, so we have the international recognition. So since I know about higher studies and research area, because that is what I selected, I'll be talking more about in today's presentation. I'll be talking more about that. But as far as I know, even my batchmates will be now on overseas employment, civil engineering industry in terms of conventional engineering, and also in finance management, data analytics, banking and consultancy. It's so once you get the degree, it is a proof that you can do something like that, and it has the value of itself anyway. So after getting the degree, you have to design your own path according to your own wishes. But to do that, first you have to get the degree good first. So try to learn the fundamentals and try to improve those analytical skills and try to acquire those technical skills. That is what I have to say as a person who has gone through the entire career for the undergrad. So about the universities, so since we don't know all the universities existing in the real world, this is a good place to look for the universities. So the QS University, I will share these documents later for your benefit. So the two main websites to get to know about the universities will be these two, the QS University ranking and the Times Higher Education ranking. So when you go to those kind of websites, you can see, depending on the region you want to go for higher studies, what are the universities there. And through that, you can go for their websites to select the courses and the supervisors you want. This is a good place to start to look for universities itself, because otherwise you wouldn't really know the list of universities in one particular country unless you have already heard of that. And for funding of the PhD, so for master's funding, it tend to be a bit limited, but you have, since I did the PhD and I know more about the PhD funding, and I know most of you will be also interested about PhD funding. I'm talking more about that. In the UK context, you have university-specific scholarships. At Cambridge also, we have Gates Cambridge and Cambridge Trust as independent scholarship. So there, once you get in the scholarship, you have to design your own research proposal to some extent, contact your supervisor, and then design the journey like that. And likewise, all the universities will have some degree of the independent scholarships for this purpose. And if you go to, so after looking at such a university list, try to go to the university websites to see what they talk about PhD or even master's funding, and they would potentially have some list of scholarships available for you to apply. And also, so this is one screenshot from Imperial College. If you simply go to their website and search for civil engineering or in general engineering PhD scholarships, they would have a list of scholarships. So these are university specific. This is attached to that university. And also we have some other scholarship opportunities like Chevening scholarship or Commonwealth scholarship. There, if you can secure a scholarship and you can select the university you want to pursue, there also all those PhD applications can be competitive, but these two categories of applications work in two different ways. In the first one, you have the university attached funding attached to the university, and you have to design your own path. In the second one, you have to get the funding, and then you can select to some extent you can select what is the university you want to do the PhD on. Also, it is very common to have advertised PhD positions. In this case, so these will be advertised by the supervisors on different websites. So you would still have to write the research proposal. You have to still justify the content for the project, but they are already advertised. The funding is secured. So you can go to different websites like this. So one good website is jobs.ac.uk. There they have the advertised funded PhD positions. You then should be able to contact their supervisor's email through their supervisor's email address. Try to talk to the supervisor and develop a research proposal for the application and so on. And find a PhD also another good website for that. And also, just like the scholarship opportunities, if you go for all the university or websites, they would be advertising their funded PhD positions like this. And that is also a good place to look for opportunities. Last but not least, in places like LinkedIn, this is one of the examples I saw. They will always, because when a supervisor have funding, they tend to look for students anyway. So if you can approach them on time, then you might have a chance again. So if you are familiar with LinkedIn, the platforms, try to look for the profiles of different lecturers. I will explain about how to find lecturers too. When they have their LinkedIn profiles published, and when they have such job adverts published, that is also a good place to look for opportunities for PhDs. And generally, for a PhD application or even for a master's application, you would have to have your CV and your research proposal. The statement of purpose is the document you describe why you are applying for this position and what is the importance of this project. And then you have to have a cover letter. So the combination of this is the overview of the fundamental parts in application, but depending on the university and the specific project, the way they ask for this content can be a bit different. So you have to tailor make your applications to whatever you are applying. And also this, I have adjusted the content of the presentation so that people who are going to the industry also benefits. So I'll be talking about CVs in generals and general and cover letters and that kind of documents in general, so that everyone can benefit. So for preparing CV, this is a very good guide. So in the Cambridge Career Service, they have prepared CV guides for both undergrads and for the people who are looking for PhDs and postdocs, because those two kinds of CVs tend to have a little bit difference in terms of the length and the presentation. So depending on your purpose, please go check these documents so that you can improve your CV, because for whatever your application is, wherever your application go, having a very good CV and cover letter would really help. So these are the key points to consider in preparing your CV. You have to tailor your CV specifically for PhDs. You have to tailor your CV and all the application documents to each job. If you have a fixed CV, and if you are trying to use the same CV for all the jobs, especially when it comes to the specialized jobs like research or some overseas jobs, that might not really work, because they would look for what they need. To manage with that, it is always good to have a bucket CV. The idea of a bucket CV is that you would have this document where you capture everything. It's not really about the length. You capture everything, and whenever you need something, you can extract from that or edit from that document to tailor make your application CV for the specific job advert. So to facilitate that requirement, if you are really going for higher studies, or if you are applying for specific jobs, it is always easy to use a bucket CV where you capture everything, and then you can tailor make your application CV depending on the what the job advertisement say and what they are looking for. And in terms of the lens, this is the question I have seen in the questions list too. So technically, in most of the cases, especially for industrial applications, the ideal length of the CV will be 2 pages. And some cases, they might even ask for 1 page long CV. And for academic applications, it tend to be a bit longer because you need to have a bit more explanation about the projects and the publications. But especially for industrial CVs, try to make it for 2 pages. And these are some common errors people do. Errors in not the best practice. Don't use more than one style of bullets. If you have tick marks and the bullets and arrows, that can be very distracting and disturbing. And you don't have to say all the complete sentences when you write the CV explanation. And try to avoid tables and columns within the CV, because that will definitely catch your eye as the first thing, and that would disrupt the flow as well, and it will use up a lot of volume. And you have to get a similar flow throughout the sections. As an example, if you are talking about the research experience, the teaching experiences, so especially in your undergrad level, if you talk about the research experience and the industry experience, those two has to be in a similar format. If you phrase your research experience in a way with the names of the content would be the names of the supervisors, and then project name and the duration, those format has to be copied to the other sections too, otherwise it is disrupting the flow. And also, this is also a good point to think about when you are having the layout of the CV. This is how for a normal person, this is how people would read it. The eye normally goes as an F shape. So the important things in your CV about what you did and the words and the first sentence of the CV, first part of the sentence in each section, try to get the most important points in the left hand side, so that it will catch your eye, it will catch the reader's eye. And this red zone, you would still feel the red zone as well, but it will be less prioritized when people are reading. So this is a good point to consider when you are deciding on the layout of the CV. And this is a good example of a bad CV. As an example, you will not have to say this is a CV. That's useless, because by the look of it, it is obvious that this is a CV. So you don't have to say it's a CV. When you use something like that, that can be a bit demotivating for recruiters, and also with the layout, this has layout in different ways, and different things are in different alignments. So that is a bit disturbing. And when you have a table like that, I first goes to that table, and that is necessarily stealing the attention of the reader. So you will miss out the reader will miss out some of the important things, and this is not really pleasing to the eye. And even with the content, so this has a lot of white spaces. You don't have to fill everything with letters, but at the same time, try to make sure you have much less white space, much less unused space in the CV, because otherwise it looks bad. And also, when you're preparing the CV, if the CV is 2 page, try to fill both the pages. If you have half a page empty, that also sounds like a mistake, because then it feels like you haven't got anything more to say. And you have to prioritize what you are going to say as well. So as an example, if you are talking about the work experience, prioritize it. Sometimes it is good to have the chronological order. That means what you did with the timely manner in the reverse order. But at the same time, you have to highlight most of the important points first. So even with the highlighting, don't have a lot of bold, italic, underline, highlight everything in the CV, because that can also disrupt the reader's flow. These are common mistakes a lot of people do, especially in the undergrad CVs. So this is very important for you. It's important for you to understand a good CV, especially when it comes to overseas application. It will be very important because you have to stand out. That will be the first impression of the CV. So CV must be professional, because this will give the impression of you, and you have to prioritize and tailor make the information you put. That is why I say, especially when it comes to research, you have to tailor make your CV to extract from what you did to in a way that it is most applicable for the project you're applying to. And also it has to be error free. Don't so read your CV before you submit it multiple times to make sure you don't have any errors in the CV, and it has to be very well organized, so that people don't really read CVs from top to bottom. That's not how it works. People will skim read the CV, so it has to be easier for skim reading. So try to get the sections and try to get the alignments so that the organization of a CV is much easier to be skim read, and it has to be selective. Don't try to say everything you have ever done, because depending on the thing you're applying to, select the most important thing you have to say, that says that you are suitable for this position. And it is also important how to say different things. Don't say that you did something like so if you are trying to explain your industrial experience, don't say you did this and that. Say what you achieved. So you have to phrase your experiences in a way that you say something about yourself. As an example, if you did some of the research work about some of the concrete testing, don't say you tested concrete for this particular behavior. Tell a bit more about what is the meaning you put to the testing, and what does that say about your experience. As an example, you have to highlight about the achievement, your initiatives, your communication, your creativity, your leadership, and your managing organizing skills. So try to read this kind of a document. So this is also an extraction of the document I just showed you earlier, and read what are the verbs they have used to explain your experiences in a CV. And this is an example of a good layout of a CV. This is very easy to skim read, and all the bold text are associated with the dates and the places, and so it follows a similar order, so that for a reader it is very easy to skim read. So try to make your CV almost perfect before you apply for positions. That is also very important. And this has been asked as questions from the other students. If you feel your results are not the best for the applying position, as I said, you don't have to have the best ever grades to apply for anything. So it's not a 1-0 thing. So if you're applying for a PhD, GPA and class is one thing, then research publications are another thing, and the things you have done other than that with the work experience and the recommendation, they are also coming to the play. So it is only one thing. So you have to manage what you say. So if you have better subsequent results, as in your GPA in the first semester is a bit lower, but you have better GPAs in the last semesters than the average, you have to highlight that part too. And if you don't say anything about the grades, if you then, especially in the higher studies, they would assume the worst anyway. So put emphasis on the things in a better sense. So don't be discouraged about your grades at this point already. And also put a more emphasis on the other achievements like the research publications or your work experience. And if you are applying for one particular position where some of the electives you did would be more suitable and more relevant. And if it has a good grade, then you can highlight about that part. So it's not a 1-0 thing. It is only one factor. And within your undergrad experience and the grades and the other experiences, you can write your own story. And that is what recruiters and even the potential supervisors would look for. And in a broader sense, a cover letter and a statement of purpose, you have to include these three areas in terms of your discussion. You have to tell why it is you. You have to introduce yourself about what you have done and why your experience will be suitable for the experience, the project you are applying to. And that can be the case for a job as well. If you apply for a job, you have to tell them why you will be suitable to do that job. And a lot of people tend to just focus on that too. That is also wrong. You have to then explain why them. Why are you interested about that particular employer? And if you are going for a PhD, you have to tell why you are interested about that particular university and that particular supervisor. And it is obvious if it's a good ranked university, it's a well-known university, it's a well-known professor. Yeah, that will be one of the things. You have to say that it is fine, but that saying that alone also can be a bit demotivating. And if you have to try to connect your experiences and your interest to the outlook of the employer or the supervisor in your context. And also then you have to say what you are proposing. You have to make clear, okay, you can do the job and you want to do the job with them for specific reasons, and this is what you are going to do. You have to have a proper proposal about what you have in your mind. And this will be very important when you are writing cover letters for a job or a PhD, and then in a specific case when you are writing a statement of purpose for applying for different PhD positions. And these are some of the examples how not to say. And if you say this and this experience make me the ideal candidate for the position, that is just buzzwords, right? And so all the things in the left side, you can basically everybody can say that. And but for the recruiter, for people who are reading the job, your documents, it has to be a bit more logical and a bit more demonstrative than that. You have to have more evidence. So if you say I have excellent communication skills, I mean anybody can say that, and it doesn't have necessarily be true as well, right? And even the communication skills will not be like either you have communication skills or you don't have communication skills. We all will have some kind of communication skills at this point, right? But you have to make a proof. So why would you say that? So you have to say that in a more quantitative manner. We are engineers anyway already, right? So even in the documents itself, you cannot use different buzzwords to get away with anything. You have to prove why you are doing that. If you say like I'm capable of working independently as a part of a team, then anybody can say that. You have to prove what you have done like that. You have to say, okay, you have done this before, and because of that you think you can do this as well. So you have to, that is one reason why personalization of the CVs and the cover letters, statement of purpose will be very important in this context, even for jobs. You have to get your experience and rephrase it in a way that it is more applicable to the position you're applying to. And that is why application documents takes a lot of time. And this is also another example. It has to be a bit more professional. When you say I have always wanted to work on this kind of a project, I have always wanted to work with you, that sounds a bit more cringy as well. And it is not a very good way to write this kind of proposal. But if you can be a bit more realistic about what you have done and why you are interested in them, and try to connect your own experience to what they are looking for, then it will be ideal. And also, so this is about the making real connections. So try to avoid buzzwords. Don't say like it will be a privilege to meet you and have the opportunities for an interview. Yes, it will be a privilege, and it is fine to be humble, but be more personalized in the content. And this is good way of how to say that. If you say, I mean, this is a snapshot of the previous document I was talking about. If you say, I am a very well versed in digital marketing or some kind, maybe finite element analysis in the civil engineering context, that doesn't really make sense. You have to first say what you did and what kind of outcome you had, and then you can say because of that you think you can do a justice for this project, whatever the thing you are looking for. So depending on, so as I said, I'm basically repeating the same thing. Take your experiences and take the job advert, especially with the research proposal, research job, and even for an industry job that would be important. Look at the things they have asked for, and with your experience, try to link what you can say from your experiences. And for the cover letter too, so when you are applying for a job, uh, especially with the overseas applications for PhDs and the job applications, you have to have a letter, and this is a kind of good format to follow in a cover letter. In the first paragraph, you have to say how you got to know about this position, and what are you in terms of the academic achievements or the professional achievements. And in the second paragraph, you can say you have done this. You can say talk about your experiences, connecting to their experiences. And in the third paragraph, you can say why you want to do this why you want this project, why you want this job. And so it's about joining. So in the second paragraph, it was about connecting your experience so that they think you can do that job. And in the third paragraph, it's about why do you need to go there? What is your importance of going there? And in the fourth paragraph, it will be like you can conclude what you want and talk about the interview too. So this is a general structure for the cover letter. As I said, for most of the applications in general, whether it's a PhD, master's, job, those three things are important. Why them? Why you? And why you can do that. And if you think you don't have enough resources already to do such an application, this is a starting point for you to think about. So at the end of the undergrad at Moratuva, civil engineering, these things you can easily use to build up your application for either a job or any research position. You can use a GPA in a class, and as I said, if you don't have very good GPA at the end of as the final GPA, try to highlight some of the things that you have done better than the final average, and then you can obviously connect the research experience. And if you don't have, so when you say research experience, you will be doing something very specific. And to connect that to the application, it is not really about extending what you are doing right now anyway, if you are doing research already. And it is about applying the skills you have developed in your research experience in an applicable way to the PhD application or even a job application. So don't think that it is possible. It's almost impossible, I would say, to get a PhD position extending what you are doing as an undergraduate research at the moment. It will be more about getting those research experience, and applying those skills and knowledge to another context, whatever the available thing is. And for presentations and publications, we will have Mercon, and a lot of more people will be presenting at SSCSL as well. So those things you can say about your output in the CV, and we can use our experience with the CDP as well, about what kind of things we did and the group activities we did. And for the survey camp also can be very important, because they also have some awards, and the experience itself can be phrased in a way of an achievement. And industrial experience, of course, will be very important. And there are also, if you are applying for a industry job or an academic job, PhD or position, try to phrase it in a way that it is more applicable to, it's more relevant to what you are applying to. And also, surprisingly, some of the individual subject contents can also be very important. So even in my case, in one of the applications I made, even after the PhD, to be honest, after the PhD, when I was looking for postdoc opportunities, before this position, was advertised, I was applying to one of the positions. I got the interview. There, I could, they needed ArcGIS, and I had somehow done the ArcGIS module in final year electives. I could use that as a plus point, and that was a added benefit. And then at the end, you can use the awards and scholarships. Even if you are in a dean list in some of the semesters, you can say that in the CV. And also to show about your leadership, communication skills, and that kind of stuff, you can use the extracurriculars in Model 2 as well. So this is, if you haven't already designed your CV, if you think you don't have much to say, you don't have any experience, think through these points. You can easily fill up meaningful 2 pages for a good application, because I also did that. So, and last but not least, I will take some moment to talk about how to approach writing a research proposal, because that is also important. So that entirely depends on your potential supervisor. So if you make a research proposal working hard, and if you think you can apply the same research proposal to different places and see, that rarely works out like that. It is more about, so if you are contacting some of the supervisors, you don't necessarily have to get their approval. So if you are emailing them, not always you would get a reply anyway. But if you can get a proposal working on, that is very good. But you have to, one way or another, you have to have a very much tailor-made application, or especially the research proposal specific to that supervisor. It helps to have a bit more broader sense of research interest, so that you have much more wider selection when you are trying to apply to people. And it is better to contact them, as I said, but it's not always essential. I have known people who have contacted them and tried to work on the research proposal and didn't get the opportunity. And I have known people who tried to contact them, but they didn't respond. But then they would reply once you apply to get the interview and everything. They might reply to the same email then. So it's not essential, but it is important. So obviously we wouldn't know who are the supervisors that exist or working in the different universities, right? So this is a good way to find supervisors. So in previous slides, I showed you about the university list. So after that, you can go to each university websites, and of course, different university websites will have different layouts and formats to find people. And then you can easily search in civil engineering department, who are the people who can supervise PhDs. And these are 2 examples of University of Leeds and University College London. So they have two different formats, but you can go to the websites and see the list of names. And then just because you know the name, then you don't know what they are doing, right? So they have, especially in the university website itself, sometimes they have some explanation about what kind of research they do, and in the broader sense, what supervisors are working on these areas. Or else you can go into details about their profiles. So this is one of the examples. If you go to the university profile and see who are the working people, and then in the university profile itself, you can see the research interest, and then you can see whether you will be interested about doing research in this aspect or something else. And also in Google Scholar as well, you have some of the taglines, and also you can read some of the research papers to see what kind of projects they are involved in. And last but not least, ResearchGate is also a very good platform to learn about what different people are working on. And once you get to know about some of the people, so obviously you have to make a couple of applications. Even in my case, I had two almost applications, I would say, when I was doing the PhD. So you have to have some multiple connections for PhDs and start working on few applications to be successful. And this is a good way of identifying suitable research scope, because you don't know about their research scope. So try to go for their try to read their publications, some of the latest publications, and they are normally at the end of the paper you would have some next steps involved, because otherwise those studies would come to a dead end, right? So they would then have a bit more explanation about what their next steps would be. So try to read some couple of research papers from your interested supervisor and see whether any of these things will interest you. And depending on that, then you can talk to them about their willingness to get a new PhD student in the upcoming intake. And then you can work on a research proposal if they support, or else still you can write a proposal depending on their funding availabilities in the university and still apply with the good proposal. So even if they don't respond you, if you have a good research proposal tailor-made to that particular supervisor, and if they are available, they would sometimes you might have a chance even if they don't respond. So even in my case, when I was in my final year, even though I was the best job, I think I emailed to around 30 people and maybe less than 5 people replied. That happens, and it is nothing to be discouraged about. So this will be a good tip to start working on your research scope. And when you are writing a research proposal, if it is already advertised, then you don't have to write the original research proposal, of course, but you have to prove that you are the right person to do that. And if it is not advertised, if you are mainly looking for independent scholarships, then you have to write the research proposal in a way that you show the PhD is worthwhile doing. You have purpose of doing the PhD, and it is feasible to do this PhD, and you are capable of doing this PhD at this university. So those are the things you have to highlight. And these are key points to consider. And you have to match with supervisor's profile, and it has to be tailor-made. And you have to have a credibility of the project. You have to make sure they know why you are doing this. So what is the use of this project? And also it has to be a bit more possible, even though you don't know about exact methodologies, because we are talking about searching about in an unknown territory for 3 to 5 years, depending on the university you're applying to. And even though you don't know exactly about the methods, you have to have some idea about what you expect to find from the project. And it will be a bit vague, but you have to show that you have studied some of their work. That's the whole point. So it's not really about the finalized work plan, but about about you showing your capacity of reading something and interpreting something from that. And just for you to get some idea about how to phrase some of the things in these applications for the CVs, cover letters, research proposals, first you see what you have done in your undergrad, or if you have some more experience. So list the things you have actually done, and then think, what does that say about what you can do? And then you can use that to prove that you can do some of those things that is required for that project. As an example, if you have done math lab, or let's say you have done abacus modeling in your final year, and in an advertised position they asked you, they prefer ANSYS for some reason, because different modeling softwares have different pros and cons. So don't be discouraged thinking, okay, they are asking for MCs. We are talking, I have only Abacus experience, and that's not how it works. So you can say that you have done finite element modeling using Abacus, and since you have done some finite element modeling, you can phrase that in a beneficial way to the new project, even though the learning a new software, especially if you are looking for whatever you do next, as I said earlier, you throughout the undergrads you will be exposed to a lot of subject content, and you wouldn't really use all the content all the time, whatever the job you are going to. So that will be a tailor-made question, and you have to design your own path. For that, you can extract from the experiences you have already collected through the whole 4 years of our university. And it is so even for the research project, when you are looking for research projects, don't think that, okay, you don't have that particular experience to apply for, but think in a way that, okay, you have done these things, you have done this kind of experiment, and you have done this kind of calculations, this kind of analytical model, and even with the CDP, then try to channel those skills to say that, okay, you can do this kind of things required for this project or this job too. That is how you have to approach one thing as the beginning of the thing. That's how you have to approach the application documents. And even when you are working on that, even for the programming languages, especially when you are going for higher studies for the softwares, you can then use the skills you have developed to learn different new things. And to research proposal, just to conclude, the title obviously, and you have to give a brief abstract about the project you are talking about, and after you have to say why you are doing this, or what is the benefit of for anyone if you do this kind of research, what is the impact of the output of the research. And then you have to have a good research literature review, and it is very important to show them that you have read some of the supervisor's work as well. And then you have to develop a good research question and hypothesis, which is later phrased as an objective, and you have to design some kind of a rough methodology. It cannot, so this document will not be used as the final document, like blueprint kind of a document to follow throughout the PhD. It is about assessing your potential to develop something like that. And it is always good to have some timeline at the end of the project. So I have seen some of the questions I got from the list asking for some example research proposals. Unfortunately, I couldn't find that can be shared like that, because one thing, research proposals can be very different to one another, because in terms of the research area, the methodology, credibility, they can be very different to one another. And also they tend to be a bit more confidential documents, because those are the plans for the research. So I couldn't find some of the documents that can be shared like that. But in general, this is the things that should be included in a research proposal like that. And yeah, I would like to conclude my presentation from this slide. And thank you very much for this opportunity. I hope you got something from my presentation. And rather than, even though this is me reminiscing about the past experience from my civil engineering 4 years experience, I have another point to say with this too. So at this point, I have done some undergraduate teaching at University of Cambridge, and the top left corner of this slide shows the selfie I got in my last copy class, and the second photo just next to that is the photo I got from Civil Engineering Research Symposium, and that is where we presented our final year research. Everybody presented, and that might be my first presentation, but now I have presented at some of the international conferences too. And I have done some experiments here. For that, some of the first experiments I have ever done in terms of civil engineering scope was in civil engineering undergrad. So what I want to say is it's a path, and I would have never thought about the position I will be in today at that time. That's not how it works. It will be a path, and that depends on the opportunities comes next. So don't stress yourself too much about the future in exact like 10 years or so. Try to think about your immediate next 2 steps or maybe something like that. everybody has their own story, and different of everybody who graduated with me have gone to different places doing different things. So this is my story. I hope you got something from this presentation, and I would like to get any questions from you now. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, sir, for your incredible talk on making a great research proposal, PhD applications, and preparing us for a bright academic future. We are inspired by all your wisdom and experiences. And yes, now it's time to move on to the most awaited Q&A session. I would like to open the platform for all the attendees to raise questions that they have been eagerly waiting to receive answers for. In the meantime, I would like to ask Dr. Jayasinghe a few questions that our fellow audience have prepared and raised. First question that they have raised: can you provide examples of successful research proposals in civil engineering to help us understand what a strong proposal looks like?
Yeah, that is one reason why I said in the last couple of slides too. Yeah, I couldn't find anything to share, but I don't, to some extent, I don't think if you look at actually submitted different research proposals, they would look very different to each other. And I tried to get some of the proposals. I could refer some of my senior batchmates, but they are ones also, they will be very different. So the overall idea is you have to, this will not be a blueprint of the project you are going to do, but it will be important for you to show that you can think of something like that. So it will be a credible project for 3 years. It is important that it is not very niche. It has to be a bit more broad so that you can search more. And any of the research projects too, after the PhD, after gaining some of like credible content, then research will always be like you are drawing the boundary from here, and this is the PhD, and still the research continues. The research works in like that. So there's nothing like, okay, this research project is over. That is not even for the undergrad research project. That is not how it works. You would do something, and you have to think research. So this is one of the advices I got from my supervisors. Research is almost like standing on the shoulders of the giants. So you have a lot of existing knowledge, and you would produce something, and there are much more other things to be produced after your work as well. So to showcase that, you have to write your research proposal for a bit more broader sense to show that you can think of something that can be extended for such a long period, and that will be useful doing that for humanity. What is the use? You have to sell your project as something important, and it is good to have a timeline too. So when you collect those points, that would be a good CV, a good research proposal. I mean, I'm sorry, I couldn't really find any of the shareable document I can for the entire crowd. Sorry about that.
It's all right, sir. Now, we would like to ask the second question that they have raised. Any advice from you on what we should focus on when doing research?
I think a focus in the sense, as I said, it is all when you do research, even if you don't have publications or public presentations, still it will be valid research. But when you have some kind of peer-reviewed publication or conference paper, then it has much more credibility. So especially even if you are not thinking about higher studies now, if you can publish your research paper starting from Mercon, or then more for the presentation, the Candy conference in the local context, the Candy conference, SSCSL. So if you can present in those kind of platforms, that will be very good for your professional performance. Then you have the you can say that you have done such a presentation. You can say you have published your research. So because anyway, generally in the research culture, publications are very important. That is why when you are applying for higher studies, enough content, collaborate with.
Thank you, sir. Now I would like to open the platform for the audience to ask any questions that they would want to ask.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Hello, Ayi. So right now we are doing
Yeah.
a lot of courses in LinkedIn and Coursera. So can we add them to our CV? Are they professionally accepted?
I think yes, but I'm not the best person to ask that question because I haven't really done such courses. Because at that time it was not very. It was people were doing that, but I haven't really done that. But I think it is very useful, especially again. So if you are applying for a position that will be seemingly useful for some of the courses you are doing, then you can really highlight that in your CV. And I don't think it has any of the negative points. I think obviously that would be depending on the course you do, probably they might have different recognitions, but in general, if you have collected some of the qualifications or experience, and if you can sell that as something you have done that is relevant to what you are going to apply to, I would say obviously you should. I hope I answered that question.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, just.
Yes, thank you. And now I would like to raise another question. How can I develop a strong
Is there
project
any specific
management?
way? Excuse me.
I'm sorry. Yeah, please raise your question.
Is there any specific way? So, how do we maintain our LinkedIn profile? I mean, what should be the post that we should post in our LinkedIn profile?
I think yeah, that's a good question actually. Like, try, especially if you are going for overseas applications, I would say try to have a good LinkedIn profile. I mean, have a decent photo, not a weird selfie. And also the content has, don't put the different kind of very personal or political statements. It's about your professional appearance. So try to keep that as much as professional as you can. And in terms of post, I think it is about the things you have achieved in terms of academic. I mean, at that time, I haven't really posted anything about our undergrad experience, but I think there's nothing stopping from you doing that. I would say it's generally about your professional achievements, which you already have to some extent. And I think it is always good to have that limited to only the professional setups. I hope I answered that question.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Now I would like to again ask if there's anyone from the audience that would like to ask any questions.
Yes. How can we enhance our networking skills and connect with experts in civil engineering during our academic journey?
So I think I saw that question, but it was not very clear. So when you say your academic journey, are we talking about the industrial connections or higher studies?
Higher studies, sir.
I think for higher studies, it's always good to have the academic connections in the sense, as I said, try to maintain your ResearchGate profile and the LinkedIn profile up to date with a decent description of what you do. And then try to have some, so I'm not saying the potential supervisors would always follow your LinkedIn or ResearchGate or different other platforms like that. It will be about the application to some extent, but it is also good if they have known you before. So follow them or try to connect with them through LinkedIn or ResearchGate. That would help, I think.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, cheers.
Thank you. I would like to ask if there's any more questions that the audience would like to raise. Okay, then I would like to ask a few questions that have been raised earlier. How can I develop strong project management skills to excel in my career?
That's a bit tricky question for me as well. I mean, project management skills. So again, this will be a journey, right? So as I said, you will not be the manager of a huge project once. Before you do some of the smaller tasks, so try to do some of the extracurricular activities too. Because when I was in my undergrad, I was a part of the XMOCRO and also with the Rotaract Club as well. Try to go for those kind of small projects, and then in terms of application point of view, you can phrase that as something you have done in terms of project management. And for those kind of project management skills, those are the kind of skills that you would develop when you do that. And for that, you have to start from the small point. For that one, I would encourage all of you to go for different kind of extracurricular activities we have in our department, in our university as well.
Thank you, sir. And I think there's one more question that is to be asked. Yes, is there anyone from the audience that would like to ask any questions?
So, hello again, so right
Okay.
now, machine learning is one of the important aspects in civil engineering as well. So how can we
Yeah.
in civil engineering and machine learning into our professional career or in our CV as well? Do we have any ideas or any suggestions?
I think so. In terms of research, at least, I know. I mean, even like the person who's just next to my desk was doing using a machine learning algorithm for his research purpose, and even I have used some of the algorithms for research purpose too. So even though, let me put it in this way. So when you say machine learning and generative algorithms, that kind of stuff, that sounds daunting at first, but at the same time, you all are civil engineering degree holders to be, and this proves that you can do something. So basically, even programming, it is more or less doable for us. And to start that, I think one of you previously said about the doing some of the online courses that helps. And also, even in our batches, some of the people have been going to higher studies for programming, and even some of the occupations that requires more programming language skills. So to do that, in our undergrad step procedure, if we go do the computation mechanics, that required a lot of computational methods, even though it's not exactly machine learning at this stage now, probably that those experiences would help. I think those are the things that, just like project management skills, it is all those kind of skills will be improved when you do those exercises. So do modules that is more into computational modeling or those kind of algorithms, and also try to do some of the courses if you think that is suitable for the career paths you are trying to look for.
Yes, thank you, sir.
Okay.
And I would like to ask a demanding question that was raised. Could you recommend strategies for balancing coursework, research, and professional development as aspiring academics?
Yeah, I saw that question, and I was also thinking what to say to that, to be honest, because obviously in our undergrads, it will be very demanding, right? I mean, as a person who has completed the undergrad, I would also know. So after I moved to PhD, of course, I worked hard, but some of the things you can't really beat some of the experience in undergrad. Because I can remember in my last, since you are also going to do that at some point, I was the leader for the CDP group, and I didn't really, so just before the date of the presentations, I didn't really plan to be in the entire uh, night preparing, but I couldn't really go home, and at the time I was not really uh, having a boarding place as well. So I had to stay at some of other places and then work overnight to come to the presentation. So those things happen. So when you say balancing, first you have to appreciate the fact that our undergrad has a lot of work, which would be really beneficial for you at the later on anyway. But for balancing, I think it's very important for you and every one of us to realize that it is by definition demanding, but at the same time, it is important for you to take care of your health, both physically and mentally, and also have some free time for you. So as an example, even for exam period, which is very stressful, it is normal and even maybe expected to work hard. I'm pretty sure I have gone to some of the exams, even though it's not really not acceptable, even though it's not really the first choice. I have gone to some of the exams completely studying overnight uh, without having any much sleep, but then you had to sleep. So make sure you get enough sleep at least in some of the blocks throughout the time period, because it is not always you are working very hard. So you had to work hard. You had to work hard to get good results, good grades, and good output of the program. And you have to do that to do whatever you are going to do next anyway. And I'm not going to say just as soon as you do the degree, you would have the power to do anything under the sun, but you have to think what you are going to do next to some extent. But at the same time, it's important for you to balance this workload and stay with friends and uh, be- try to have a bit more balanced uh, the diet, try to have more sleep in the times that is not really stressful. So it is balanceable. You can balance it, but you have to. I do appreciate that it is a lot of work, and I think you all also can do that, even though with the higher workload. If you work hard enough, if you balance your other time with some form of entertainment and with some friends and so on, it should be a reasonable balanced life, because you already have the environment to work and also to balance our life to some extent with the boarding place and everything, because with the other extracurricular activities with the friends we have in the undergrads, you can balance it, but you have to make sure you are balancing that too. And also that doesn't mean you should not be focusing on some of the hard working aspects of the degree. You have to get it is better if you can get good grades, and it is better if you can get some publications. So for that, you have to work hard. That I appreciate, but at the same time, make sure you are balancing those kind of things too. So balancing doesn't necessarily mean reducing the workload. That's what I want to say. I hope I answered that question properly.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And now talking about PhD applications, what are some key factors that admission committees typically look for in PhD applications for civil engineering programs?
I think, as I said, there are three things they are looking for. So why this project is important, whatever you are proposing, and then why it has to be you. What can you bring to the table that others might not really have? And then why uh, the project, and why that place, why that supervisor, and why you. So those are the three things you have to justify, and which basically comes to how you phrase and how you can sell what you got. And if you are applying for, as an example, if you are applying for Cambridge, then obviously Cambridge would be a good place to go to, and that is fine, and that is true, maybe. But if you can connect it to a more personalized way, okay, why this particular research project with this particular supervisor in a much more acceptable sense, that would be coming as a much of a plus point. So those are the three things that they are looking for. So that's why I said, so I know enough people who have gone to good PhD programs with second uppers. So it's so you don't be discouraged with you not having one particular aspect. So with the way you sell yourself, you can still go for good places too. So if you are preparing the CV, research proposal, and the cover letter, try to think of those three aspects. Those are the most important.
Thank you, sir. And now talking about publishing research, what are the best practices for publishing research in reputable journals within the civil engineering field?
Yeah, so to see what are the reputable journals are, if you go for the website called Scimago ranking, so which try to Google maybe journal rankings. There you can filter with the subject divisions too. So there you can see some of the good journals rank, and also when you are looking when you are doing your undergrad research, you can see some of the so when you are doing your literature, you would come across with some of the very good publications, and some of the things will be very much reputed. So your supervisor would also know what the good journals would be, and obviously they are publishing in those journals will be challenging, because there you have to have a very sound with research and conclusion. You have to have a sound research outcome, which can be often challenging with the undergrad project alone, but it is not impossible, I would say. And if you go for those journal ranking website and then go for the website of the journals, they would list some of the things that they are looking for in terms of the what kind of contribution they are looking for and the subject areas they are looking for. So try to read those kind of documents, and then try to read some of the journal publications from those top quality journals, and there you can see what kind of nature we are talking they are looking for in terms of the research output. I think that would be a good place. So whatever your research publication would be, it is always good to have a good research literature review, and then read some of the publications that already has been accepted for publication from those journals, and that would give you a good impression about what they are looking for. Okay.
Okay, so thank you. And on the topic, how to select the best research topic for us, and can you please share some tips on how to complete a research successfully on time?
So again, so going to the latter part of the question, so successfully on time, that can be very subjective. You have to have a good research output with the given time. For that, you have to work hard. But the research doesn't work in a way that if you finish your project, that would be the end of the project. So technically, you still have some future scope possible from that project. So especially in a PhD where you are doing a research for 3 to 5 years, the PhD thesis will be written in a way that you would draw the line, okay, where you are going to, where this is where you are going to stop your work as a package, and then write, and then you would have a separate section for future work, so that people would understand, okay, if this continues, these are the things you will be working on. So it is, so when you say finish on time, it is, it's very subjective, and it is about how wrapping up the things you have done in a useful way. And it's not really about having a benchmark or a finishing line. It is very difficult to define the finishing line for a research project. Because as you can see, if you have already started some of the research projects, all the 125 research projects will be very different, right? So they will have different scores to be wrapped up in at the end of the course. So I would say it's a very, so first you have to talk to your supervisor about the expectations for such a wrapping up. And the first part of the question, what was the first part of the question, sir? Again?
Yes, sir. It was just a second. The best the best research topic, and yeah, how to select the best research topic, and
Okay, yeah.
share some tips.
Yeah, so to get the research topic, I would say it would generally help to have a broader sense, because when you are doing a PhD, it would be on a very specific niche topic. Because if you look at a thesis or a project, you would first describe why you are doing this kind of study, and then narrow down to one particular thing, and then do something new. So that is the general approach when you are writing research proposals and everything too. So when you try to select some of the suitable things, first you have to see what's out there. What are the people working on these days in the top university? So again, if you go with the university list and then see what are the research groups and what are things they are working on these days, then you can understand what are the trending topics, and then you can decide on some of the things that you think you will be interested in future. But it is not necessarily about what your undergrad project connects to. That can be a bit different, and it is fine to have such a difference anyway. And it is not always possible or even feasible to find an extension of what you do right now. So have a bit more broader flexible sense for practical reasons, and then you can select uh, on what's available, what you are feeling more comfortable doing with.
Thank you, sir. And now I think I'm going to ask a question that we all in the audience have. How can we improve our focus when we're doing academics, and how can we motivate ourselves during the process?
Oh yeah, I saw that question, and it is also a very tricky one for me to answer. I think don't try to describe or plan your future for the next 10 years on the spot, because as I said, even with my journey, it is really about the opportunities you get and the opportunities that exist at the time, and some of the things will fail, some of the things you will get, and those can be a bit more demotivating at the time, and especially if you are applying for PhDs, that can be very demotivating when you have some of the rejections. If you are applying for jobs, that can be very demotivating when you get job rejections. Even I also have had that. So I think it is always important to realize why you are doing that to some extent, but don't plan your all the career right now. I would have some career planning, but don't have the final details very much target. Then that is also a recipe for disappointment. So if you're applying for jobs, or if you're applying for PhDs, it is always good to have some more flexible outlook about what you want to do. And because especially the PhDs, where the focus will later on go for some of the niche things, depending on the the opportunity you would get, the things you will do also will be very different. So if you fix your viewpoint to only a very few areas, that can often lead to dissatisfactions and demotivations. So it is always good to have a positive overview, thinking that okay, with a civil engineering degree with the Washington network, we can do a lot of things because we have the recognition. But that doesn't necessarily mean that whatever we apply would be successful on the first go. That is not going to happen to anyone or even any of the degree programs of the world. So you would always get those kind of negative points, but it is important for you to keep going. And I think that's all I have to say. So for motivation, I would say sometimes getting some of the opportunities would be hard. You just have to keep trying until you get one. And because once you get it, then you will have another problem, but that problem will be over. So that's how the path goes on. I mean, like, until you get to Moratuwa, you were stressed about doing the A-levels, and once you do the A-levels, then you get to this one. Still, now you are going as a herd. Now, then after at some point of the end of the undergrad, you have to design your own path. For that, have some flexibility, to some degrees, have some flexibility. Otherwise, it would be a bit more demotivating, because the opportunities depend on what you can offer. Not only that, what they exist as well. So even for the jobs, even for the PhDs, that depend. The opportunities to get one factor for your future would be what is available at the time. That is to some extent out of your control if you are talking about the PhD applications, right? So for that, because of that, it is good to have some flexibility in the way you think about your passion. Then otherwise it can be a bit more demotivating and challenging.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Due to the limited time frame, I would have to unfortunately limit the number of questions shared here this evening. The audience still have the chance to raise any important questions that were not able to be raised later after the session today. So, as all good things come to an end, it is time to wrap up today's session. We want to express our deep appreciation and heartfelt gratitude to our guest speaker, Dr. Amila Jayasinghe, for sharing their invaluable time, wisdom, and willingness to inspire others on their academic journeys. Dr. Jayasinghe has generously shared their expertise in research proposals, PhD applications, and how to build a bright future in academia. His guidance and knowledge have been instrumental in providing valuable insights to our audience. On behalf of everyone present and on behalf of our organizers, I want to express our deep value for your contribution to this event. Your stories will undoubtedly motivate and guide countless aspiring undergraduate students here today. Words can't capture how helpful and important your insights have been to us. We thank you once again for your time, and please accept our token of appreciation. Finally, I would like to thank everyone for joining us in this enlightening webinar. We hope that the experiences and wisdom shared here today will help you all shape up your bright futures, developing your professional traits and skills in achieving the best in your career paths. I would like to conclude the event by a great quote by Neil Armstrong. "One small step for a man is a giant leap for mankind." Remember, fight the fear of taking a step, as it could revolutionize the world for a better tomorrow. Goodbye, and best wishes on your own paths to knowledge and discovery. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for this opportunity as well. I hope everybody enjoyed, and I hope everybody got something from me. Thank you.